Hey, good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We are North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now, it's Labor Day weekend, right? Monday morning, Labor Day. What does that mean? It means, hey, this is the weekend. You know, clean up the camper and pack up the campsites. Take the camper home, clean it up, put it away maybe, and get the boat out of the lake. Labor Day weekend, wrapping up our summer. Got these nice cool mountain mornings already and cool mountain nights. You sit out on the porch. It's almost time to find that sweatshirt to sit outside. But that is great. One of the many reasons I love living in North Georgia. No matter where you may be today, we want to say hello to all of our new viewers. Now, generally on holidays, we don't do any kind of a show, but I really had a great time. We all did here at FYN Media Group up at the 9th Congressional District GOP campaign kickoff up there at the Dillard House Saturday. That was great. So I figured, you know what, we may have new viewers today. Want to introduce you to the show. And what we're going to do, it's a little, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 Trump hats. Now, if you're new today, I do not endorse candidates. I do not. At FYN Media Group, FetchYourNews.com, FYNTV.com, we do not endorse candidates. But there is one candidate I endorse and fully support. That's President Donald J. Trump. Again, if you're new, I have my Trump flag over here. This is my Ronald Reagan calendar. Okay, Ronald Reagan, Nancy, I love my calendar. I have my flag here. Jason Newman, Deputy Sheriff, Gilmer County, made this for me. I've called in the Marines, as you can see over here. I have my American flag, my Trump flag, my Trump Pence. See, this is Trump Pence. And then over here is a little oddball that people ask me about all the time. But does anybody remember Ross Perot? Now, you can't see this at home. Take your country back, Ross Perot for president. And right up through here are the staple marks. This was actually stapled at the time Ross was running for president. I don't endorse him, but it was stapled to a stick in the ground. And then we have one campaign, one candidate, one Democrat on the wall. One. Mondale Ferrara. Reminds me of Biden-Harris. So we have our Mondale Ferrara button. Do we have anything else here? I'll find something here in a minute. But what we're going to do today is, and don't forget, tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, our guest here on the show will be Congressman Doug Collins. So Friday we go. We're here Monday through Thursday in the studio, okay, and it's wide open, so you got to be prepared for that show come tomorrow morning. But what we normally do is on Friday, we change things up. We do our show on location in downtown Blue Ridge, a place called Sycamore Crossing. It's beautiful there. And we do some different things. We do an Ask the Doc segment with Dr. William Whaley. Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman, and it's brought to you by the North Georgia Cancer Center affiliated with Northside Hospital. We have done these two doctors, forget Vin Gupta and all these CNN doctors and MSNBC and all these people they bring in, all right? We have done probably 12 weeks, if not more, of the best COVID-19 coverage with these two doctors in 12 weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce you to our Friday shows. So we're going to play our Ask the Doc segment for you, our most recent one. And then you can find all of those on FYNTV.com, Ask the Doc. Then after that, we do a group, a couple friends, maybe 3 years now, but a couple friends, we just said one day, you know, we ought to do a panel on Friday, you know, just to break it up. I bring in a couple people on Friday. And so several years ago, we call it the All-Star Political Panel on Fridays. And there's Rick and Bruce and Jane and myself. And we actually cover some very good stuff. And we don't play it right down the line, you know, like those fancy TV stations with those fancy lights. when it comes to Rick, Bruce, Jane, and myself, we don't play it right down the line. So we're going to introduce you to that. Then we have a segment with Jessie Barton, our Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall in LJ. Senior Living, North Georgia Senior Living. She does an outstanding job. We're going to talk about, we're going to bring her in so you can see that segment. And we're going to round out today's show. We love our pets here, okay? We are FYN Media Group, okay? FYNTV.com. We are FYN Reports, which is FetchYourNews.com. And FetchYourNews.com is, hey, the name comes from, we love our dogs, man. So we do a Pet of the Week every Friday from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. So this is a little different today, okay? Here are our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Trump hats. I'm your host, BKP. In every break, you come back, and every break I'll explain a little bit about the show if you're new, what you can look forward to, some of the hashtags I like to use, some of the, you know, like what the hell? I say that every once in a while. But right now, we want you to enjoy a segment from our Friday show called Ask the Doc.
Hey folks, I'm sorry. I was saying something.
Crossing here. Beautiful morning. 10% chance of rain.
Go ahead there. I like that.
Yeah, all right.
A little overcast. Winds from the southeast coming in from the.
That's right. And we got the guy out there already, like we had the blower last week. Okay.
I'm gonna give it straight to you. I want to say something while I have both the doctors, and I didn't say this opening, folks, and it does have something to do with Ask the Doc. We're going to talk about it just a little bit here. We get a minute. It's time for high school football in Georgia. Tonight will be, finally, they're on the field tonight. So we're going to see, with all the talk and all the things and precautions, tonight all these young men across North Georgia take the field.
They're not going to be wearing masks on the field.
I mean, how much do you pay those sound effects people to make it sound like we got all this construction going on around here?
Sound effects.
Yeah, right. Okay, I wanted to start this. I'm going to give it back to BKP in a minute. If you look at me very closely, the president said last night that I need a psychiatrist, right?
I'm listening.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
If I wear my mask on my ear like this, I need a psychiatrist. Well, it's sort of a joke because in the daytime I have to wear this darn thing in the office all day, and I put it on and I have it here so that the sponsors of Northside Hospital and the Cancer Center will know I'm still playing the game. But what that brought to my mind was the second thing on the news, the medical news this week, and that was that the virtual practice of psychiatry and mental health counseling is causing a marked increase in depression, worse than seasonal affective disorder, which we talk about every winter, and as bad as the death of a family member, because the mental health professionals are not sitting down in the same spot with the people that are having a mental health problem. And I think every time I've ever been to a psychiatrist, and I'll say I've been many times in my life, so there you go, that's an admission, they've sat about as far away from me as Dr. Tidman is sitting today, which is perfectly safe. And I'm going to tell you how safe it is to be out there and why you ought to be out there. But that president saying that last night told me I want to lean on our audience, that if you're depressed or you're anxious or this stuff is driving you nuts, or you married your wife for better or worse but not for lunch, and being home all the time is getting you, then sit down and talk to your family practitioner face to face, if you can do so, about your mental health issues, and if necessary talk to a professional. But the mental health business is going as bad as the undiagnosed diabetes and the undiagnosed cancer and everything else. And I wanted to
that is an excellent thing, because I've had several of my home health nurses talk to me about raising awareness about depression in seniors. And you know, I'm all for the virtual visits when you need to protect an at-risk person that really needs to not come in the office and it's a high-risk thing. But most of the people we're talking about, this is a flu illness. I'm sorry, it's a flu illness, and they are not getting good health care when you're not seeing their face, you're not seeing the movements, you're not looking at their weight, you're not looking at their distraction. I mean, there's so much more information in person, particularly in psychiatry.
Yeah, that's
particularly in psychiatry.
So I'm through with psychiatry.
No, it's interesting you opened up with that, although, you know, it wasn't the direction we, you know, have planned, but I like that you opened up with that, because I spoke to somebody in that field this week, and they said, I need to see the person.
Yeah.
I need to see body language. I need to see the person.
Well, the thing about the amount of information you get from here down looking at a face.
Exactly.
I mean,
anyway, I want you people
so
to go see your doctor. All right, we got
absolutely.
We've got so much encouraging stuff today. We're going to give it back to BKP, but at the end of the day, you're going to feel good about the virus, and you're going to feel good about going to those football games tonight.
I want to run some quick data by you this morning. Just a couple graphs that we have just to show you. Now, there's a couple different things that are going on as far as I'm concerned. Is we have some media groups that are pushing charts, graphs, certain numbers, and people are, that's what they're gravitating to. There's I did not have time to put arrows to what you were talking about, but there's the AJC has what's called the COVID-19 dashboard. So if you want to look this up, I always want to help our viewers be able to find information. Coronavirus in Georgia COVID-19 dashboard at the AJC.
They took that from the New York Times, tried to do them one better, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but since we're in Georgia, we're gonna.
They did do them one better.
We're gonna give them the Georgia shout out. Now, Emily, start with when I say go. Start with number 3, and if you go down through there, you will look on this dashboard, and I will tell you, gentlemen, what they're looking at. Give me number 3, new reported cases by day in Georgia, and this is what they're looking at. And we're seeing a major spike in that number 3 graph around starting early July into August, and now it's coming back down. So briefly, what are they looking at out there, and what does that tell us in that data?
Now you got three different graphs. You got positive cases, and it's falling down. So I'm just going to take you to this one. Now this is the Georgia health claim. You remember,
right?
3 weeks ago, the PCR test rate was 14%, and we said we got to get it below 10, and when it's below 5, you ought to just be blinking opened up everywhere. Last week it is down to 9. It's 7.7 this week. So what you're showing right there is that of all these tests, yesterday they did 29,028 tests. That's how many got into the system yesterday. Yesterday was Thursday. You're a lot more accurate late in the week because Mondays you've got all this weekend and stuff. So this is probably what the rate is right now, 7.7% positive. Get it below 5. Well, that's just a graphic way of showing you that it went from 17, 15, 14, 12, 9. It was 9 last week. So this is the first time it's been
put number 4 up
getting
there.
Up close to 5. Now the death rate is going to always be higher than that because it's lagging those admissions you had back in July. Remember, it's going to take you 20 to 40 days to die.
Number 4 is confirmed cases. Now, death rate in a graph here that we're seeing on the screen. Give me the next one. That should be number 5.
And there you go. It's still up there.
It's still up there.
And it's not, doesn't look like it's other side of Stone Mountain like that case story.
I think what people, when they see this kind of data, because they run, and I'm going to say this is for me, not you. You may understand, but a lot of times we go run and look at this data, we don't quite understand it.
Well, you're bringing me to where we're going today.
Right. That's exactly right. We don't quite understand the data. We don't know why it's up during these dates. It's coming down, and where we're at. Let's go to the very next one in line. That should be the total confirmed deaths. Okay.
And you got the hospitalization rate right there. Right?
And then the next one should be current hospitalization by day in Georgia. That's going down. Did you click the next one?
Backside of that Stone Mountain falling off.
Right.
Deaths aren't going to do that because they're going to lag that big hump right there in the middle.
Okay. So,
Brian, there's an interesting thing that's not graphed there, is that the survivability in the hospitals is getting better.
Okay, now you're coming to me. You ready?
Current hospitals. No, I got one more.
All right, go ahead.
One more. I'm going to get through it because when I come to you, I already know the data you have, and I don't want to interrupt it because it's good information.
I'm just going to flow from it.
I like what you just said, because when we're looking at a graph that says current hospitalizations by the day in Georgia, we actually have more people leaving the hospital than just 6 months ago.
And we've got another graph of that from another sort. We've been showing in past weeks, but we're not going to show it today.
And I think the next one, just go ahead and put the next one up. And then the last one, Emily, of data that I have there should be the map, the map. And folks, this map is on the AJC, but this map here I always send people to, because the Department of Health, Georgia Department of Health, this live map is on there. And in Fannin County, I can put my cursor, and you know, as up to date as the information is.
Is it states 480 and 8 there?
Well, it says right now in Fannin County, it says recently reported cases, total 82. Total reported cases 480, like you just said.
And 8 deaths.
And total 8 deaths. But the great thing of what you're seeing on the screen is you can slide. You go to the Department of Health, slide right across here, Lumpkin County 265, total reported cases 757, and deaths 12. So that's some of the information you can go look at. But let's just say, how about breaking down the good news? What's that mean?
All right, let's go to work there. Here we are. Here we go. There is a concept that says that the government's always lying to us, and that Fauci's lying and everybody else is lying. That what people believe to be the facts are changing as time goes on. You know, the world was flat at one time. When this whole thing began, they said there are going to be 2.5 million deaths in the United States. That was the first week or two.
Yes.
Death rate's going to be between 4 and 10%, and the world is falling. It was less than, let's see, they shut down the flying into the country in January, and on March the 11th, Dr. Fauci on television said the death rate is going to be 10 times greater than the flu, and it will be above 1%. 13 days later, he said it could be less than 1%. At that same time, the New York Times and the Johns Hopkins program said in certain areas of the world it could be as high as 25%. That may still be true in India and some of those places. But right now, today, we believe that the death rate is somewhere around 0.4 to 0.6% of people who become positive for the virus. Now, that rate varies widely by age, and I'm going to come to why that is in a few minutes when we're talking about this new science. But for children, the rate of infection and death would be 5 per 100,000 kids. I mean, it's infinitesimal. For age 40, it's 60 per 100,000 kids. And when you get to age 60, you finally reach the average. That's 680 deaths per 100,000 kids. Well, by age 60, many of us have these other comorbid conditions. We're overweight, we have hypertension. So that's the average rate. So people below the age of 60 don't even reach this average rate until they reach 60. And so it looks to me like those people ought to go to the game tonight, and they ought to you know, be careful when they go there. And if you're 65 years old or so, you're going to get to that point where your risk begins to go up. By age 80, you got 8,000 deaths per 100,000, and that's our fragile population. So what I'm trying to say is that the people that are below age 60 and are healthy, below age 65 are healthy, and they're not really overweight, and they don't have diabetes and brittle diabetes and stuff, they can go to the game tonight they can enjoy the game, and then they just be careful when they're letting somebody spit in their face and wear their mask where they should wear their mask. But it's going to be outdoors, it's going to be beautiful, it's a 10% chance of rain, and go do it. Now,
Bill, let me restate something you said there, because I think the audience needs to understand this. You're giving case fatality rates, which is the number of deaths per diagnosed disease.
Per positive blood
It's not
test.
just in the population.
No.
These are deaths per people who diagnosed.
With the disease, yeah.
Right. So, and that's a very specific set, and you're giving that across all age ranges.
Right.
And you're pointing out that under 60, even without a vaccine.
Probably under 65.
Under 65, that's a very, let me get to that point secondly. Under 65, this, even without a vaccine, this is not a really severely deadly disorder.
Correct.
Now, over 65, 80% of the deaths are over 65 in the COVID problem. 80%.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to
40 or 50% are living in a nursing home for crying out loud.
Right.
Okay, so let me go ahead.
Right,
Okay.
and I want to come back to that, because what you're saying is, and I told Dr. Whaley before we started, is what I like to do here is clear up what I hear on these networks all week, and you would think that none of us are going to make it if a vaccine doesn't show up.
Right.
We can't go out to eat. We can't go to school.
Right.
We can't do nothing without a vaccine.
And that's why I'm restating, because what Bill just said is so important. And
Right.
sometimes having it said in a little bit different angle, people can put those two things together.
That's your job. Everybody tells me, if you ask Dr. Whaley what time it is, I tell you how to build a watch. Well, I'm trying to tell you how
Can I throw this in and
build
then
a
take
watch,
off?
and then Ray will tell you what time.
You know
it is.
what? You know what we said earlier, and to me, the magic word that this guy said, it's manageable. Correct?
Okay,
right?
I'm gonna get to manageable right now.
All right, that's what I thought.
Okay, so in the United States, there have been, as of today, 183,000 deaths. This year, 50,000 people will die of Alzheimer's. Now, you die of Alzheimer's, but that's a small number of people. 60,000 will die purely of a stroke, not a heart attack with a stroke or anything else. Flu kills 30 to 61,000 in the average year. So if you look at the dates, 183,000 COVID deaths, this is probably 3 times more fatal than the flu, some number, we don't know what it is. But 269,000 are going to die of heart disease, and 252,000 are going to die of cancer. So this 183 number is a manageable number. I mean, we don't want anybody to die, but it's a manageable number, and most of the people that are going to be dying are in nursing homes and are older. Now, this is so encouraging to me that this came out 3 days ago, and I kind of went bananas over it and sent it out to everybody else about it, the hypothesis behind what happens with the COVID virus, called the Bradykinen hypothesis. And I don't want to get into science yet, because we're going to show a few graphics here in a minute, but it'll kind of explain to you why, when this disease happens, it is so devastating to that group of people who get it bad enough to get hospitalized. Now, we just showed you the hospitalization numbers are falling. We just showed you 4 weeks ago when I was talking about cytokine storm. Well, we've already changed vocabulary. Cytokine storm is not there anymore. It's bradykinin inducing a cytokine storm. And shoot, 4 weeks from now I might have another way of explaining it. But nobody lied about cytokine storm. That's what we knew about what was killing people then. Now we know what is causing the cytokine storm, which is only a small part of what this whole Bradykinen hypothesis is about. So I'm going to stop there for a minute.
The point being on that is that the more the scientists narrow down the causes, the specific pointers and the swords and the bullets and stuff, the more we can fight. That kill you.
All right,
the more we can fight.
That's the encouraging thing I'm going to come to in just a minute. Is why this shows us why what we learned empirically 90 days ago about Decadron helping people. 1/3 of people who get Decadron early go on a ventilator, don't die with the same rate as the ones who don't get it early. we learned about 4 months ago, I remember when I had a thing on thrombophlebitis and blood clotting, that one of the big things that kills you is this vascular leak and clotting all through the body. Well, you go in the hospital with COVID now, and bang, you're on anticoagulants. So anyway, we'll come back to that here in just a minute. But one more time. Ray said it earlier, I've said it a few weeks ago, the percentage of people who are coming out of the hospital with treatment of the COVID virus. So you got to be sick as a dog to get in Grady Hospital. We used to say somebody would come in your office and say, how sick are they? Say, Grady's sick. That means they can get in Grady. The death rate in our good hospitals in Atlanta now is 5% or less of hospitalized patients. Now remember, The Rock,
Yes.
his whole family got the stuff. 2 of those people had fevers of 103. They stayed home. You don't get in the hospital with a fever of 103. You don't get in the hospital with a lot of pain. You take pain medicine. You don't get in the hospital with a cough. You get in the hospital only when your blood oxygen level begins to fall,
Right.
or your kidneys begin to go bad, or your blood pressure begins to fall. So a ton of symptomatic COVID virus patients are at home. They're getting treated with analgesics, and they're well in a couple of weeks.
When you see the lack of, and I only say this because I sit for hours with family members in the hospital and watch the doctors come in, if you have a fever and body ache and pain, you know, the medication that you take in your home, when you're in a hospital, they're looking for organs that are not functioning, or
Right.
you know, things like that.
System failure.
Yeah, system failure, like you just said. So they could say, well, you know, we could see from your blood work there's something going on in your kidneys or something.
But you don't go in the hospital.
But that's hospitalization. That's when you're hospital,
Well,
right?
yeah, well, not even that. You don't go in the hospital unless there's something the hospital can do to intervene upon and change direction. So if your kidneys are going a little bad, you would go home, and they'd tell you to, you know, drink plenty of fluids and come back in 2 days, and let's check your blood again. And let's go back. And so what they would be doing then is monitoring you. You're only going to get in that hospital if you need IVs to keep your blood pressure
If you need
up.
that level of care.
If you need that level of care. So I want to make sure that most people that have the COVID virus are treated at home, not in the hospital.
Well, Bill, let me double down on that, because while we are saying that the success in hospitals is much higher, I don't know if you remember back in March, huge higher. Used to be like 4 out of 5 people were dying if they were in the hospital.
Yeah, and then it
Now
went
we
down
only
to
have
25%. We thought we were doing good.
Yeah.
The media has a fear factor in the number of deaths, and yes, the number they have up is 183,000 this
Yeah, they
morning
keep
or
piping
something.
on that number.
So, but they don't have the number survive.
No,
you know, they don't want to
never
talk.
tell you that. No,
Okay.
because what they say, if it's not on fire, it doesn't sell. You know,
Right.
You know, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, that's all that sickness of the media. But back to Bill's statement about home care. We still don't want to downplay the need, if you think you have COVID, to get into your doctor's office and get in early. This is not something to play around with. So if you think you've been exposed or you think you have symptoms, go ask your doctor. Because through the Bradykinen theories and all these kind of stuff, there are therapies that we can do early that will definitely help or hopefully help. So don't wait till the cows out of the barn at all. We're not saying that.
Because when you say can help, because although you may be healthy, COVID causes damage.
Oh yeah, we're going to come to that in a minute.
Right. So you do want to get in.
You want to get into your doctor.
Because you want to
we're not in any way
minimize-
downplaying the need for health care here.
Exactly.
We're just saying we're a lot better off than we were 6 months ago, and society needs to really get back to work and get back to living and get back to doing what us humans do.
But the people that really need to be praised here are the ones that are coming up with rapid testing that you can get back quickly, a day and a half, because that's why I've said before that it doesn't do you any good to contact trace if you get a test today that's 7 or 8 days in coming back. And I read yesterday that a whole state had kicked Quest out because they were 7, 8, or 9 days. Well, locally here, that was one of the laboratories that was being used, and nobody got a test back for 7 or 8 days. Well, what good does that do you? You can't remember who you were with 7 or 8 days ago. So anyway, I want to get into this thing and show that first one about the supercomputer. What graphic is that there?
The title.
The title.
You got it up there, and it says, what is the title of that article?
It says a supercomputer analyzed COVID-19 and has an interesting new theory has emerged. A closer look at the Bradykinen hypothesis. Pull that down and let me explain about the supercomputer. No, put that nice picture up next of the virus itself.
Number 2.
This picture here accompanies this article, and we'll go pull it down in a minute so you don't look at the pretty colors. You listen to me. But go ahead and pull it down. Now, I happen to have a friend whose family was involved in the genesis of the first big computer for IBM, and they thought it was great that it learned how to play chess. The second biggest computer in the world is at the Atomic Energy Commission in Aiken, South Carolina. And it analyzed samples of 40,000, now just list this, these are big numbers, 40,000 genes from 17,000 patients with the COVID virus. Those two, if you put it together, are 25 billion gene combinations. And it took them 7 days with the biggest computer in the world to crunch those numbers. Now put up that next pretty picture. So here's what we've learned that I said you should be really happy about. Where's that big old pretty picture here? This is how you get the COVID virus. Now look, you got the pretty picture?
Yeah, give me number 1.
All right. Now, we said before that spike protein on that picture you just saw gets into the nose and hooks on to a binding site in the nose. The name of that binding site is ACE, ACE2. It's real high in the nose. Now, what we've learned from this genetic study is that soon as that hits that thing in the nose, it starts a biological cascade. You've heard me say way back when we're talking about cancer about the genetic mutations that upregulate breast cancer, ovarian cancer, whatever. Then we would have a gene study that would come in and block that upregulation. Well, this ACE inhibitor, ACE receptor, as soon as the virus gets in there, starts upregulating those ACE receptors everywhere. But first off, in the lung doesn't have many ACE receptors. But soon as this gets started in the nose, it's kind of like a wildfire, and it makes the ACE receptors in the lungs start coming up like crazy. That activates the kidney renin-angiotensin system, which then raises the bradykinin levels in the blood and upregulates the bradykinin receptors. And then if you look at the rest of this graph, everything that happens then happens because that bradykinin gets to liver, blood vessel, heart, kidney, muscle, brain. Now, there ain't nothing much left except skin, and it does something actually to the skin. But every one of those things, if you can imagine somebody who says, I take penicillin and I break out in a rash, or people you know who get angiotic edema, they pop up. That's just a tiny bit of what the bradykinin system is. When you turn it loose like that and it goes crazy everywhere else, it creates things in the body that makes the organs fail. Now, what happens in the lung is there's one more chemical called hyaluronic acid that this bradykinin upregulates in the lung, and when the bradykinin gets someplace in the leg, in the muscle, it makes your blood vessels leak, and you swell, your muscles get sore, it makes your kidneys quit because of this edema. But when that fluid gets in your lungs and you have to go on a ventilator, the hyaluronic acid, that's in soap and in detergent like you use in your clothes, and it goes in there and it lets that it absorbs a ton of that water and it makes it turn into gel. When your lungs are gelled and you're on a ventilator, you're going to die unless they take your blood and they put it out sort of like in a heart bypass machine. That is what they're doing in the ICU now, that is saving people who 2 months ago were dying because of the gel in the lung. So everything they've learned from this 270 million genes in 7 days of working on the supercomputer has found something in the body that you can address with treatment that is improving the outlook for those few people, and it's such a tiny number that ended up in the hospital. So now, that's the encouraging thing. I want to throw that away, because that is the most infinitesimal amount of the people who contract this virus. So, back to the regular numbers. Unless you're over age 65, the chances of you getting this virus and having anything happen to you worse than going home with the sniffles and taking some Motrin because you ache is really small. So protect the old folks, go to your office, do your stuff, wash your hands, go to the game tonight and enjoy it, and I'm gonna be quiet.
But you know what you've done this morning is you've really brought positive news to every age group. I mean, the most vulnerable is 65 and older, but what you're saying here is there's stuff that's being worked on there, so there's a positive in every area of this. There are two things, when I say out there, that I know just us folk out here are wondering, okay? Because we get inundated with media. So there's two things I think they would like to hear your take on quickly.
I think Ray's the one to tell you about the vaccine question.
Well, here's the thing.
You asked me and I couldn't answer.
If you get up in the morning, they're saying, you hear CDC and you hear, I don't believe anywhere in the medical industry that they will rush a vaccine, put it to market, so it could affect. I don't think you would put.
No, there's no way they're going to put a high-risk vaccine out on the market. It's just, I mean,
so
you can't afford to. I mean, you can't afford those lawsuits.
To have it ready by November 1st distribution.
See, that's where
they're out there wondering. They are out there wondering. Wait a minute. We're hearing every day that a vaccine may be ready for distribution by November 1st. What say?
Well, now we may not disagree on this, Bill, because what I'm trying to say is they're not going to put a vaccine out there that they know that there's this many side effects to.
No, that's my point. Okay.
They will put a vaccine out there, and then in testing 100,000 people, we didn't find this side effect, but in testing 1 million or giving to 1 million people, we found this bizarre side effect, and that's always going to be with any vaccine.
That's correct. Now, when they by November, they're going to have tested 10,000 or 20,000 people. And thalidomide was a sleeping pill in the 50s.
Particularly for pregnant ladies.
For pregnant women that ended up causing you to be born with no arms and no legs.
Right.
And it took it being given to millions of people around the world before that showed up.
Right.
The flu vaccine that caused Guillain-Barré syndrome and killed people. 50 or 100 million people had that vaccine before you could say this small number of cases is real. So here's what I'm trying to say. One, we've already proven that there are people who had the virus 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and recovered and had a second case. Now, there's only 20 or 30 of those in the world, but it casts some doubt on whether just the development of a humoral antibody, meaning a circulating gamma globulin sort of thing against the virus, is going to be protective for very long. That's the first thing. So we don't know. You won't know in November if it was protective for these people when they were testing it in June, July, and August, whether that's going to last a year or it's going to last 3 months. So they may put a vaccine on the market that has not made everybody's hair fall out or their teeth fall out and protected them from the virus, but you don't know if that's going to last for years or last for a few months. And secondly, you don't know if 10 million people get it, whether or not a few of them are going to get hemorrhoids or a headache. So those small side effects are going to take a long time to determine. So I want to be, and there's, as I said last week, there's lots of different ways of going after that vaccine. The T cell activation, the different parts of the spike protein, and I'm not smart enough to understand it, So there'll be a bunch of vaccines still being tested when the new one comes on the market. It's not going to be the only one. So,
right.
So Ford came out with a Model T first, but 20 years later we had dozens of models. So it may well be that we get a vaccine, and then in the next 3 to 6 months we get 6 or 8 other vaccines.
So it could happen.
Oh, I really am optimistic about a vaccine or two. But my thing is, I think I want to say here is to those seniors that are so inclined, because the elderly and the healthcare workers need it first. They should consider the vaccine. Now, I don't want to make anybody take a vaccine that doesn't want to take it. That's their intuition. But, you know, I would say, hey, if you can get the vaccine, get the vaccine. Bill made the point earlier about this test. This test is going to be out here within a matter of weeks. You're going to have it at your home if you desire. If you are afraid of the virus or afraid of spreading it to grandma or granddad, get this test and be prepared to test your family. It's a public-based healthcare thing where you can know, like taking a temperature, whether you've got a problem or not. And this is specific to COVID. So these are big changes that we are seeing now. But I want to ask Bill a question, and I hate to put him on the spot like this, but a year from now, looking back at all this, how do you see us as a country behaving, and what will we say about what we just went through?
I'm not smart enough to know. I think that the division politically in the country can't go on a year, 2 years. This country's better than that. I think our behavior, one toward the other, in terms of shaking hands and hugging folks like we used to do, we probably aren't going to see come back. And I think that certain things that we used to do that we can't do now, like go to a cafeteria, I don't think cafeterias are going to be open in a year. I think the movie theaters will be open in a year, and the bars will be open in a year. And I think we're always going to have a much higher threshold for self-protection and responsibility for protecting ourselves and our loved ones. I mean, they didn't have seat belts, then they had seat belts, then they had shoulder harnesses, and then they had crash bags. Yeah, so I think we're going to the point where we're going to learn how to better live our lives to protect ourselves, but more to protect other people, and we're going to be less selfish about ourselves. I hope we are, anyway.
I think we'll really know a lot more about epidemics and how to manage them. But
let me say this, and I'm not taking on the restaurant industry. A lot of great restaurants out there now and before, but you know, some of the things are just a given. And you know, I'll say this, and don't take this wrong. I'm going into restaurants now, and I'm not finding as many washrooms where the paper towel dispenser's empty anymore.
Right.
Okay, they're making sure there's a paper towel. I'm going into public places where restrooms now, the soap dispenser is not empty anymore.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're saying the level of hygiene in our society.
The hygiene. So it's a given, COVID-19 or not. You know, we should have had, you know, we have wash hands, employees must wash hands, and I get it. And again, I'm not knocking the restaurant industry, but there has been a level there that should have been in place before we ever heard COVID-19. And I just think it's a given, and it doesn't cost anymore, and it's just what we're supposed to do. It does
cost more.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
It does cost more, and I think
when I say this, soap dispensers should have soap.
They should have soap. No, I agree.
But what I'm saying, I don't want to go down the wrong road, but do you understand what I'm saying on that? So some of that, like washing your hands and things like that, that's a given. And I think in this
going to work sick and coughing on people, and you know,
I mean, this young lady over here could tell you, before we ever heard of COVID-19 existed, we would yell at you through the glass and say, you can't come in here if you're sick. I mean, you know, we had rules like that before.
Well, it's like people who sing for a living. They have to protect their voice from people with the cold. So when I used to travel with the highwayman, and Jane said, I'm not going to Las Vegas because I'm sick. And we got out there, and Chris Christopherson had the cold and flu he'd caught here in Atlanta the week before. But they protect themselves from catching something so they can sing for a week and make some money. Well, that's basically the idea of what we're all talking about.
Well, when
here.
we talk about quarantine, we hear, hey, little Johnny's got strep throat. Well, you're going to stay home with little Johnny today, okay? You're not coming in here. we had a level of self-quarantine before this, and I guess let me say this. I want both of you to get an opportunity to close with whatever you maybe want to say today, but we're looking at colleges where, you know, the big headline is outbreak. Well, a lot of people don't understand. There might be 70,000 students, 40,000 students.
Yeah, that's not an outbreak, by the way.
But there's 500 or 400. And I do like, for people that, for argument's sake, I do like what Fauci said this week. Stay at the college. Don't go home.
Don't take it home.
Don't go home. Stay
well, the
there.
other thing I just got through saying, those are college kids. They're under 22 years old. The chances that they're going to die of this thing are negligible. As soon as that kid's got the thing, you got a special dorm somewhere where they go and they stay 10 days or 2 weeks to come back out. But you don't shut down the classroom. Now, we were talking off camera before this began that there are schools and where if one kid in the classroom gets the disease, the whole class goes home for 2 weeks. I don't agree with that. I think if the kid gets the virus, if he's been spitting in somebody's face, you know, or they've been kissing in their locker room, that's one thing. But if he's been in a classroom and on the playground with other kids and they're not sick, send that boy home, send that child home, excuse me, I don't mean to be sexist, y'all. And then don't shut down the classroom. Keep right on going, let the band practice and let the football team practice, and somebody else gets the virus, let them go home. And then when one of the athletes gets the virus, before he comes back, they can go see Ray and just get on and say, okay, now go back. That Bradykinen can get his heart, but it ain't very likely, but you still need somebody watching it.
This is a medical discussion, but interrupting our kids' education. Last year we picked a point and we just shut down schools and we went to virtual learning. Well, this year we did, and I think they're just trying to figure out what's best. But this year we gave this, parents have an option. Okay, virtual, in school. Half of the kids' class, he or her, they're at home. The young students at home. Then we have kids that go to school and they're getting disrupted because they're in classes 7-8 days. Somebody tested positive. Now there's a group pulled out.
Here's how obscene it is.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, no, it's totally obscene because you're hurting it at three levels. Number one, you're delaying children's education. Number two, the most vulnerable kids, the ones that really need to be at school, that's very detrimental to them. And number three, the parent usually falls on the mom, who have to give up their job or lose a career over this hysteria, over a disease that's not killing little children. So
hey, let's open up a business where you can drop your COVID positive kid and we'll keep him here for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
hey,
we have a COVID positive daycare. You always ask us to wrap up with something, and I'm trying to keep this in my head. It's because Bill hit on how much pain our country's in. And it's not a political statement at all. Let me make this statement and then you ponder it a little bit. If I cannot argue with you, I'm not your equal. Now, what I'm saying is if you won't let me have a different opinion and tell you about it, then you're here and I'm here.
Right.
Right? This country is built on us being able to argue with each other and discuss with each other and be full size with each other. And we have a whole movement going on in this country right now that's a cancel culture, that I'm right and you're wrong and you don't have anything to say about this. That is completely against our culture, and until we get that fixed, we're in trouble.
Fits right into the medical segment because I watch it every day.
It does. All right, it's come. Now I want to go
No,
back.
because one activity that may be surrounding a certain political party with a group with no mask is a super spreader and event and don't care, and another group that is a different political affiliation with 50,000 people and no mask is not reported.
It's a political demonstration.
So we'll leave it alone.
All right. So anyway, what I want to say is I began this by saying I don't believe that the government lies to us. And I don't believe that there's a conspiracy to keep information from us. And that's why I said that we first thought that the death rate would be 4%. Now we know this to be a fact. I want to put this to rest. Last week, there was the statement that came out that there are only 9% of people who have the COVID virus who die of the COVID virus. If you look back at my age group list I gave you, those people that are below the age of 40, I'll just use that one as a cutoff, who die of the COVID virus, died of the COVID virus. Well, there aren't many of those. If you'll remember, most of the deaths are people 60, 65 years or older. Now, there are 3 people sitting at this table here. I know that each of the 3 of us have at least 2 comorbid conditions. I do not plan to die of the COVID virus, but if I became sick today and I go in the hospital and I get this gel in my lung and I died with the COVID virus, I died of the COVID virus and my comorbid conditions, and that's the other 93%. So the CDC never lied. It's just if you dissect out the data, it's only 9% of people who died of the COVID virus and had nothing else going on that it made worse. So nobody's lying to you. But as I said, in 4 weeks, this Bradykinen thing may be out. 4 weeks, we may think that you can't come up with a vaccine or the vaccine's magic. I don't know what's going to happen in 4 weeks, but nobody's lying to you.
We'll be here in 4 weeks to find out. How about that? I'm your host, BKB.
Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise.
There you. I got to throw that in.
And if Northside Cancer Center still thinks it's worth doing, yeah. You got to say
don't throw
thank
me
you.
off my track.
Okay,
I mean, I
say
get on
you.
a track. You don't know that, right? Oh, my
Don't
ADD.
derail him.
Exactly. You know, the only train in town needs to be the Blue Ridge Railway.
All right.
Hey, folks, thank you, Northside Hospital, North Georgia Cancer Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital. Thank you very much for this segment. I appreciate it. Let me just say this while I have both the doctors here. You know, in the real world of business, it's not a football team. Business owners don't have, they have X amount of jobs, and they hire someone in that area to do a job. They don't have a first string, second string, or third string quarterback. So what happens is somebody goes back to work, little girls and boys go to school, and mom and dad call down to the place of business and say, hey, I could come back to work. All right? And business owners need those people in those jobs. They don't have a slew of backup people. So 10, 12 days into the school system, mom or dad calls and says, hey, little Johnny tested positive, has to go home for 14 days. I can't come in. Just think about it. The whole circle is being disrupted, and it's not necessary, folks. We can manage this if we get anything done today. Thank you very much. All-Star Political Panel up next. Thank you again, North Georgia Cancer Research, Northside Hospital. Take us a break.
All right, folks, that is from our Friday show that we do every Friday at Sycamore Crossing and Blue Ridge. That's Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman. And we want to always thank North Georgia Cancer Research, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for that segment. Share that with your friends. I'm telling you, this is not CNN, MSNBC, or any of those left-wing, what do I call them? I call it the hashtag deep state corporate corrupt media. They are, okay? The media is complicit in the great 2020, the heist of 2020. They're all working together. They all have their own parts and their own jobs to do to try to steal this election in November from the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. I call it the great heist of 2020. The media is complicit. They are not journalists, folks. They are not. They're complicit and trying to steal this election and help in any way whatsoever the deep state. There is one. So that was Ask the Doc. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to take you to our all-star political panel. We do this every Friday. This comes on about 8:45, 8:50 on Friday mornings, our all-star political panel, and we spend about 45 minutes every week discussing what has taken place through the week. You're going to meet Rick, Jane, Bruce, and like I said, we don't play it right down the line. You never know what you'll hear on the All-Star Political Panel. So let's watch a segment of that, and I'll be back in just a minute to tell you a little more about our show if you're new. So All-Star Political Panel, take it away.
That was
Good
great.
morning.
We have to get a grip, folks. Sorry, folks. Never let it happen again.
That's right.
Yeah, with this gang. We are at Sycamore Crossing in downtown, beautiful Blue Ridge. What a beautiful September morning, right?
It is.
Perfect.
September.
Labor Day weekend.
We have Bruce, Rick, Jane. We have some background noise we call Small Town America starting up.
And the occasional bee. It's kind of getting
Yeah.
the bee.
Yeah, I'm keeping one eye on the yellow jacket. If somebody jumps up real quick, we'll know what happened.
Yeah,
I have a
exactly.
bee phobia. I will jump up and run. I
Real
have
quick.
a real phobia.
Real phobia.
Real.
Then we'll break into
Bees-
dance, little sister
I'll
dance.
tell you what. I mean, let's do this. Where you want to start, Bruce?
I'd
Where do
like
you
to
want to
dance,
start?
little sister dance.
Where you want to start?
Kelly Loeffler was like running around the stage. Do you think she moved any needles in her favor?
When? Yesterday?
Yes.
What was the turnout before you answer that, please?
14.
About 10 tables, about 5 at a table. So I'm going to go 50.
Okay.
50, 55 was her. Another 5 were people locally working for her. So, I mean,
Was it a fundraiser?
no, it was a meet and greet. Senator Tom Cotton out of Arkansas was traveling with her yesterday. And she had 3 stops yesterday. Now, Senator Tim Scott traveled with her Monday, and one of our reporters, you can go to FetchYourNews.com and you can go to Murray County or Whitfield County. One of our reporters was over in Dalton when she was there. And then yesterday she had 3 events, one in Gilmer County, one in Forsyth County, and one in Gainesville, ending yesterday. Now, the interesting one is the one in Forsyth that got shut down by Black Lives Matter.
No.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
That's interesting in Forsyth County.
well, you know, that's straight up 400, and I guess they can get out of
I'm just
Atlanta
saying,
quickly
you
and
know the
assemble, you know, concerning her basketball team. But do I think she moved the needle?
Oh, is that what it was?
I mean-
that's where they were attacking.
Yeah, at
The
Forsyth.
fact- no, but they were attacking her basketball team.
No, over things that have taken place
I gotcha.
with her
She doesn't
basketball
want them to
team.
put
Right.
the BLM stuff on their jerseys.
So
and
do
they-
I think she moved the needle yesterday? No, not really. But she's pouring the money.
What's,
Okay,
what
like,
did the poll say?
just okay. She's running against Doug Collins.
No, wait a minute. Let's be clear, because I'm glad you said what you just did.
Okay.
No, because a lot
Why
of
I'm here.
people. No. A lot of people have made this a Doug Collins, Kelly Loeffler race. It's not. There's 21 candidates.
Which is kind of scary. You
There's
don't know who's
21
gonna
candidates.
take
I
it
mean,
from
How can
you.
there be so many candidates?
It's called a jungle
right?
primary.
Anybody could get in this.
Why don't you?
Okay,
know?
but on the other side,
Probably take
John
too many votes
Ossoff
away
is
from
running against David Perdue. Just those two.
Just those 2.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you have, and thank you for bringing that up, Bruce, because there's a lot of confusion on. Okay, we have 2 open Senate seats, or not open, but Senate seats that are on the ballot. Both of our senators are on the ballot. There's a lot of confusion. Well, is David Perdue running against Collins? No. Senator David Perdue is running directly against
John Ossoff.
Period. That's done. Now, in the jungle primary, there's 21 candidates. I mean, you have
including
Warnock.
Democrats.
Right. You
The Reverend
You have
Warnock.
Reverend Warnock. You have Lieberman. Okay, now a lot of people don't talk about Lieberman, which is Joe Lieberman's
Joe's son.
A lot of people don't talk about Lieberman, but in internal polling, there's a real bump at that 1, 2, 3, 4 on whether Lieberman's number 2, Warnock's number 2,
So
Lieberman's number 3. I mean,
of the 21, there's a lot more Democrats than Republicans.
no, not really. There's several. There's a young lady that's been up here several times. Her name is Candace Taylor, and she's from South Georgia, and she has been right here at the Fannin County Republican Party. She's a Republican from South Georgia running. So I don't know without the list that there's more Democrats, but there's 21 candidates.
And
now,
the-
you did not, just another thing, you did not have to identify a party in this race. So several are running not party
I don't
affiliate.
understand it.
And is it first past the post?
No,
Whoever-
no. What
No, no.
happens is the top 2,
Right.
the top 2 in the jungle primary, will then face off against each other for the Senate seat, regardless
man.
It'll
of
be a runoff.
whether the top 2 are Republicans,
Right.
whether the top 2 are Democrats, or whether there's a mix.
That's crazy.
For instance, if Kelly Loeffler runs second, Collins runs first, they will run against each other in the final runoff on November 3rd.
Absolutely. No, 3rd is the election day.
The
runoff is in January.
Jungle primary, I'm sorry, will be the 3rd.
Right.
So we don't have a senator until after.
That's correct.
So the runoff's not until January?
If there's a runoff. Now,
Well, there will be.
There will be because there's 21 candidates,
Yeah.
but if election rules in Georgia still apply, if there's
Chances are
if there's
they won't get 50 plus one.
right, you win outright. But with 21 candidates, nobody's looking at that. So November 3rd, you will vote in that race. The top two will then go to a runoff, and those two will be on the ballot sometime in January, right?
Yeah.
So
The way the polls are now, from what I gather, Collins is running first and Warnock's running second.
What's
But
the
you
number?
say that Lieberman,
right now, we'll talk about polls in just a minute. Right now, everybody has polls. The next guy walking by with a dog has a poll he just finished.
That's
I
right.
think everybody has a poll.
Right.
I'm just saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. There's polls out there that show Collins in the lead, Warnock second, Loeffler third. There's polls out there that the senators Payne has commissioned show her in the lead. Whatever it may be. The concerning thing amongst some, does this open the door for us to have a Democrat senator? Because could the
course it
Republicans
does.
in Georgia beat themselves up so bad?
That's right.
Because right now, when it comes to the internal, you have the Speaker of the House, David Ralston, has publicly endorsed Doug Collins.
and that came yesterday right before the meet and greet, correct?
Yes, you have House Speaker David Ralston has endorsed Doug Collins. Now, my understanding is there's going to be several state representatives come out and endorse Collins the first of the week. We might see it over the weekend or first of the week. Then you have the governor that has endorsed Kelly, and you have the lieutenant governor that's endorsed Kelly. So there has been a real split in the state party over these two, and they say the door could be wide open for
Thankfully, though, Brian, the Democrats are facing the same thing. Warnock is being challenged, thankfully, by Lieberman.
There is an undercurrent right now, and don't take this for anything, okay? I'm just sharing the undercurrent. There's an undercurrent right now trying to talk Lieberman into getting out.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying that because you're hitting the nail on the head. Where the Republicans are concerned, you've got Collins, you got let's call it the Doug Kelly. All right? And where the Democrats are concerned, you've got Warnock Lieberman, right?
That's why 2 weeks ago that they were running the dirt about Lieberman.
If Lieberman would fall to the wayside, and our favorite word that I just learned here recently, or in the last couple of years, is it coalesce?
Coalesce.
Coalesce. If they will, if the Democrats will coalesce around a candidate, you got it. So that's enough said there.
So I have a question.
We're acting like we're doing election night coverage. This is a preview. Holy smokes! Go ahead.
My question is, we have a Republican governor, right? Mm-hmm. Lieutenant governor. Mm-hmm. Why in the name of holy maneuzes, why in the name can they take Doug Collins, who was a star in the impeachment thing, who was an absolute superhero, and support Kelly Loeffler over him, who's just a woman who comes up with
Can I ask that? Can I answer that in one question?
But the obvious one is
Money.
So the thing is,
Money.
That was pretty good.
I'm not,
And Bruce is the backup singer.
He's one of the pips.
Sorry, go ahead. No.
well,
That was pretty good.
So what does that show me? I don't like the governor. I don't like the lieutenant governor. I don't like any so-called Republican that can take a man who did such an enormous job with the impeachment and everything else, put him down here and support Kelly Loeffler. I do not understand how they get by with it.
Well, we spent a lot of time
We know it's money, but
when
that's
Kelly
just,
Loeffler was appointed, or she threw her hat in the ring. so to speak. We spent an awful lot of time on that in Fetch Your News and on the All-Star panel.
Who got their farm paid off.
Exactly, got all the notes paid off, and so we probably don't want to rehash that again, but it's all about it.
We need Ken Starr out here looking at it.
But she and her husband, Kelly and her husband, just have so much more money to spread around, and then, that's what's happened.
The disparity is unbelievable.
George Washington
from the
would
first
not
to the
care
second.
about that one bit.
500 million to 80 million.
Well, she is the wealthiest. I tell you what, I said this to somebody yesterday, and I got there early. I set up, and there was husband and wife were behind me, and I did not know them. And I said, "Why are you here today? Just getting a feel."
Who's asking?
They said, "Well, we want to meet. We want to meet the senator, and we're interested, and want to see Tom Cotton." Okay. I said to this person, I said, "Do you realize the lady showing up today?" As close as I'm saying it to you, I said, "Do you realize the lady showing up today is the wealthiest member of Congress?" You know what
Pelosi.
You know what she looked at me and she
Feinstein. What?
"Why does that matter?"
Hey, are we about to get another $1,200 stimulus check?
And there was a way I get that because I get that. I want to be clear. It doesn't matter that she is the wealthiest. Somebody has to be. Somebody's going to be 1, 2 in the numbers. It's just what took place here in Georgia, how she became senator, is my opinion. Now, all that being said, there's a lot of money getting dumped in. You have this political action group that was put together called G-U-V. No pun intended, like governor, but it's G-U-V. It's a political action committee, and that's where you can hide money all you want. And they're dumping, and they're running these ads. So many nasty ads about Congressman Collins.
Yeah.
And they're dumping all kinds of money in this. It's oh my God, it's just enormous the amount of money she's dumping in this.
But what comes to my mind is the word ethics. Does anyone? I mean, to decide that she has a lot of money, and for the governor and whomever else, I just don't think deep down that they're ethical people, because I cannot understand how they can put those two together and not the scales go like this.
I just want to say, do you realize how much time we are putting into Kelly when we could be talking about Pelosi and a shampoo and a cut? And here we are talking about Kelly. Rick, where you want to go?
I wonder if she got a bikini.
Let's get everybody in this morning. Where you want to go this morning?
Well, I mean, I could go to that, but I wanted to.
I know you didn't say that, Jane.
I did say it. You ignored it.
No, I just picked it up. And said, wait a minute, my brain just registered.
I wanted to expand on something that has been kind of floating around, and that is the amount of media coverage on Trump's statement about voting twice or maybe voting even 5 times.
Word.
Verify that your vote counted. That's what he said.
And what's not being said is the masterful job that this guy does to monopolize the media for not just a soundbite the next day, but for the next week and a half.
Spins their heads off, man.
They're just spinning their heads off, and
He
someone
knew
said
what that would do.
Someone said he's well-established pattern of saying questionable things to push a broader narrative. He does that all the time, admitting privately he's changing the subject from another controversy. In other words, he's trolling the press. Here's exactly what he said to that guy on the tarmac. He said, "Well, they'll go out and they'll vote."
Hey, are we about to get another $1,200?
And they're going to have to go and check their vote by going to the poll and voting that way. Because if it tabulates, then they won't be able to do that. Exact words. So
like
let
Biden.
them send it in and let them go vote. And if the system is as good as they say it is, obviously they won't be able to vote.
Yeah.
If it isn't tabulated, they'll be able to vote. So that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be. The point is not just what he said in that specific narrative, but that he is able to manipulate the entire media coverage for the amount of time taken, and this person said taking away any reference to COVID-19 or anything else that may be floating around out there. You understand what I'm saying? So,
hijacked them.
I mean, it's just brilliant the way he's able to do that time and time and time again.
Well, you know, when it comes to voting twice, I've done this on the show this week, and I picked it up the morning of, and then at about 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock and in the afternoon when a lot of the talk shows started up in midday, this really took off. But they're calling it the Red Mirage, okay? And there's a group funded by Michael Bloomberg that is putting out saying, and this is where Trump has been saying for how long that vote by mail, they will steal the election. Now, what this group says is on election day, we will be under the impression it's a mirage that Trump has won in a landslide, okay?
But
that he has won in a landslide because we tend to go vote. Now Republicans, Republicans will do mail-in ballots, but for the most part, we vote. And when we vote, our vote is tabulated immediately, okay? So what they're saying is on election night, our side, we're going to see this map that looks like the whole country is red and Trump's won in a landslide. But then on November 4th, it's going to get a little less, 5th, 6th, 7th, and up to about November 9th, it will switch and Biden will be the winner. And that's the mail-in ballots coming in. And
so then we can test it, and then Pelosi's president. I mean, what's that?
That narrative was being pushed by Axios, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say narrative being pushed by, but it is something that is concerning because now look at Georgia. Look at what happened this past week in Georgia. The state of Georgia, the election law says at 7 o'clock, November 3rd, the election is over in Georgia, meaning everything, absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, everything's over. It has to be there, 7 o'clock, it's over. Well, we have a Barack Obama appointed federal judge that has moved the election out in Georgia and says if ballots are postmarked the day of the election, they have to be counted. So now we are going to be ready.
IRS.
Wait, the ballot itself has got a chop on it?
No, well, I mean the mail-in ballot. The mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
The envelope it comes in.
It has to be postmarked.
I just want to be.
It has to be postmarked by the 3rd. When I say about the envelope has to be put. The judge says if on November 3rd you walk over to the post office and hand a ballot in, or harvest a couple, and they're postmarked, they have to be counted.
Yeah, so, who's not to say, someone 3 days later is sitting in the back postmarking, backdating.
That, for one thing,
exactly.
Are the postmasters take these votes,
there are a few
put them in a
Democrats
box,
in the Postal Service.
hold them for a week or two. Somehow Republicans.
No, I get it, but what I'm saying is now it's in Georgia. Now, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is appealing this, so hopefully we'll get this overturned. But when I say they're calling it the Red Mirage, you can see with what they're trying in Georgia that they are trying to get it to where they can count votes a week later in this election, and it's almost like, how many do we need?
Let's count it up and figure out how many we need so we know how many to go and back down.
Yeah, and how many days do they give them? I mean, it's like...
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, if one of the best interviews all week, believe it or not, is on CNN, and one of the best interviews this week on CNN is the Blitzed, Wolf Blitzer, the Blitzed.
He's still alive?
Yes, I'm with you, right? I'm thinking, didn't he hide on, who was that, Peter Arnett or Wolf Blitz under the bed? Anyhow, but Wolf Blitzer has Attorney General William Barr. And Barr, mail-in ballots were playing with fire, and that was a good interview.
Yeah.
But when you started bringing up the mail-in, the voting twice when Trump said that, I wanted to go into election night and what they're calling the Red Mirage. What else were you going to say on that, or what else?
No, I was just saying, the point that I was trying to make was how he has the ability to just twist the heads off of the liberal media and how they respond, and he gets exactly what he wants. He gets all of that coverage, and he takes the focus away from something else magically every time.
Now, what do you think about the story that's starting to go around that Joe Biden is sometime in the next few weeks going to get COVID-19? He's going to have to go into quarantine, so he can't do the debates.
Oh, he can do them from his basement, son. I'm telling you. We'll take
Can you imagine?
I just choked.
There's Trump at the lectern, and there's Joe on the screen.
I like it. He makes him look worse.
I mean, you know.
And then he's going to be coughing.
I am so
Are you
sorry.
doing your impression of...
No, he got me on that. I was just going to take a little drink here and...
Hey, all kinds of strategies going on out there.
That's a good plan if they think they can make it.
Moderators have been picked.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
3 moderators.
Chris Wallace.
Hey, it's John Ossoff. You're probably wondering why.
I'm not concerned because, first of all, did you expect moderators for these debates that would be neutral or even you did?
Yes, yeah. I did.
When did you start expecting?
I was pulling for Shannon Bream.
If you can
I would love to see her.
I love Shannon Bream. You don't like her?
No. I'd love to see her. She do a great job.
I'd like Tucker Carlson.
All right, but there you go. So
the fix was in.
Oh, please.
I am not concerned at all who the moderator is.
I am.
No. Trump will kick anybody's ass. It don't matter. If he
Megyn Kelly.
If he has to kick the moderator's ass at the same time as Joe, it ups it. And he will. But no, Trump will. I could care less who the moderator
Yeah,
is.
but can you imagine these things where they say, okay, we're going to do a fact check. So wait, stop. You know, umpire's timeout.
Oh, actually, one of the networks
that
put
is
out,
crazy.
I didn't see it, that they're going to run a fact check under it live. Is MSNBC going to run a live fact check?
And who are they going to, they're going to fact check with whom? Snopes, Wikipedia. I mean, fact check with whom?
I want to back up to something.
Oh, I didn't follow.
I like that.
Okay.
You said that possibly he gets COVID and he has to go to quarantine.
He'll have to be in the hospital because they'll say you can do it from your basement with COVID. So he's going to have to be hospitalized and on a respirator.
Who told Joe that if he talks real quiet and slow? I'm like, what the hell, dude? Who told him that that's working?
It sounded scary, huh? It sounded scary.
Yeah, I'm all right. So what say you next? What do you got?
This is going pretty great.
Going pretty good.
I did hear Trump say the other day, he said, you know, I got a phone call from my wife and she said, are you okay? Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And so she said it's all over the news. You've had a stroke, you've had a heart attack, you've had something or other. And he went and explained the whole thing. I mean, just
his secret trip to Walter Reed.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, he was in a convoy going somewhere.
He said, I got out, I got in. I mean,
disinformation campaign.
It's unbelievable.
All over again.
This is not shocking, but I'm watching the news this week. I got to bring that back. I called it the news.
Yeah,
they're complicit. I call it Ocean's 11. You remember in Ocean's 11, they had to bring everybody in. They got the guy that can handle the security, and the media is complicit in the greatest heist, the heist of 2020, and the media is complicit. Okay,
attempted heist.
Attempted heist. But I am. Yeah. There's a difference in freedom of speech and freedom of the media and what they're doing. I wouldn't have a problem with Chuck Todd in jail. I'd like for Chuck to go to jail, and I'd go by every morning and have coffee with him and tell him what the daily news cycle was. Half of his sentence would be me. Or Joe Scarborough. I want Joe Scarborough, okay? Anyhow.
What about Minka?
So Trump is going to go to Kenosha, and I'm watching every morning. So both of them, MSNBC, CNN. The president, even being asked by the governor and the mayor of Kenosha, don't come. It's like pouring gasoline, fanning the flames of an already volatile situation, and he refuses to meet with the Blake family. So this is the reporting the day Trump's going. The very next day Joe Biden is going. Biden planning to take his message of healing, peace, and hope. No, I'm like, no, his healing, peace, and hope to Kenosha, yep. And will meet with the Blake family, which Trump did not.
Son's lawyer, though.
I'm like, what the hell? Fanning the flames, 5-gallon gasoline. I mean, it was.
It's like the rowboat is taking on so much water, and they're going to slap some Permaseal on there, and it's going to be all good.
You know, you are right. That is a great analogy. My gosh. Well, you know, another thing that sticks out in my mind, I just can't get over the hypocrisy, is when Pelosi said, I take responsibility for going to get my hair done and my bikini wax. I take responsibility. And she
quit putting that visual. Would you stop saying that?
I know it, but she owes me an apology. I take responsibility, but she set me up, and she owes me an apology.
You see all the back and forth on that between the owner, between the stylist, and the neighbors are in it. It's like, it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Trump went out there, and then the next day in Kenosha, the next day on the news, all they said was, his reporting was, Kenosha, Trump goes to Kenosha and just totally sides with law enforcement. Just totally sides with law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Now, I watched, it was a 50-minute community safety roundtable, okay? Mm-hmm. I watched all 50 minutes. Trump did an amazing job with, and this is what spun their heads off. So CNN comes out the week before, and the dad that's screaming, and the mom, okay, and the attorney. And the attorney says, first, okay, we would like to open with prayer from the family pastor. And what's his name? Ward? Anyhow, pastor comes to the microphone, and he prays, okay? This is CNN. This is with Blake's mom. Dad, everybody, okay? Trump goes out there, okay? And who is at the round table? Trump calls that pastor in, and his wife, and he was there. They freaked out because this pastor went and sat down with the President of the United States.
Sin of sins.
But then they released and said, the Blake family don't have a family pastor. The Blakes don't have a family. Well, yeah, they do. It's on video a week before.
I mean, you see with the old man? I mean, Blake Sr., he is a complete nut job. Yeah, anti-Semite, anti-Christian, Louis Farrakhan supporter. He's got tweets up the yin-yang. Guy's nuts.
Awful.
The guy's nuts.
That's the father.
I read the tweets. I read the tweets.
And that Biden would meet with him?
Right.
Oh, come on.
And give him any credibility?
Did you see the people that he met with in the church? They handed out scripts.
Yeah.
Beforehand? They handed the people out.
Emily, you have that video?
He's saying, go to the tape.
Go to the tape of the young lady walking
Cut
into.
32.
Yeah, right.
This is. You'll be able to hear it. Who was a supporter of Black Lives Matter in the area, and she was one of the people picked to meet with Vice President Biden on his trip to Kenosha.
Hello, my name is Portia Bennett. I'm just going to be honest, Mr. Biden. I was told to go off this paper, but I can't. You need the truth. And now I'm part of the truth. Hello.
All right, go ahead.
It's amazing how all of these press conferences are. The young lady, Portia Dennis, said, I'm going to be honest, Mr. Biden. I was told to go buy this paper that you handed out. But I can't. We need the truth, and I'm part of the truth. So she was one that had the guts enough to stand up to the fact that they were being told so that he could
handed out the paper.
So that he could respond in kind. The fix was in on all of those people in Kenosha.
Everybody he met with in that church that they spaced out in there, they went through, and I didn't get to see this, but what they were able to see is they went through and handed out a scripted paper.
Here is
that
what you
would
have to say.
Right, you say this, and then I will have this nice.
So it wasn't a list of songs we were going to sing.
Right.
It wasn't hymns.
Thanks, Emily, for that.
Did you have another one? Do you
Not
want?
now. These are for my winner and loser.
Oh, he's got a whole setup here. You're gonna have to start getting in on.
I know. I'm just dominoes is dominating my day.
Other big news.
Big news of the day, Bruce.
Unemployment numbers are out. We're down to 8.4.
Wow. So that's a down.
Yeah,
We're down
trend.
under 10.
Downward trend.
under 9.
Under 9. Well, I mean, we were at 10 last time, right?
Yeah. No,
Double
we were in the
digits.
9s. We were in the 9s.
Oh, okay.
And almost 1.4 million new jobs. So that's very good news. And
Hopefully that'll help the stock market rebound from its 800-point loss yesterday.
Yeah, but you know, I was watching some of
worried
those
about that.
professionals out there, and you know, for where the stock market's at, an 800-point adjustment is, you know, there could be taking
It's a
some
blip.
profits or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I'm done.
yeah, Dow's up 164 futures.
Yeah.
Nasdaq only down 40.
So
Keep in mind that whole thing
the
was
unemployment's on a downward trend. Go ahead.
that whole 800-point loss yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're better at this than I am. It was being dragged down by about 5 tech stocks.
Yeah, the FANGs.
Right.
Facebook, Alphabet, Google,
Right.
Apple.
Yeah, just 5 stocks were dragging that whole thing down. The winners to losers was 1 to 8. There was 8 losers for every winner yesterday. So
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So in big news of the day, first of all, we know Blake. We know Jacob Blake, which the media is calling Little Jake now. Yeah, Little Jake.
Jake Jr.?
Yeah, Little
Okay.
Jake. Yeah, instead of there, you got the big Jake.
That's
But just-
Shaky Jake.
Yeah, Little Jake's in the
I
hospital.
don't like
right?
asparagus. You see
And
that interview?
they said one, President Trump would not meet with the family and not call the family. She is on video. Does the media really think we can't find this? She is on video, the mother apologizing to the president for missing the call, okay? And then when Trump talked to the pastor, it says, I'm coming out there. I wouldn't mind sitting down and talking with the family. And he said they're requesting their attorney be present. And he
Ben
said, no,
Crump.
you lawyered up?
Yeah,
No,
no.
I mean, I'm not doing it. So, and it's just like Chuck Todd or any of them. I mean, if you said to any of them, they will report it like they don't understand it. But if you said to any of them, I'm getting an attorney, they don't talk anymore. You lawyer up. So that is, and Blake, we know, criminal record, all the above.
Yeah, like I said, how come no one's talked to the wife or the woman that called the police?
No, you can't do that.
No one's talked to her.
Let's get, because we got to go, but let's get this, because I had a great conversation this week with my good friend Vernon Jones.
When are you going to get him up here? It'd be great to have him
Yeah.
sit up here.
I keep telling him.
Love that guy.
I got on the phone with him the other day, right? 40 minutes I was on the phone with him. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I mean, when Vernon and I get on the phone, it's just, you know, we get the right.
yeah, Bruce and I, you know, we chatted with him when we were at the Capitol with you.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, last year, and he was as gracious as he could be. He always has
Wait.
been.
Here's the thing.
If when you talk to him, again, I don't want to.
Go ahead. No.
I mean, okay, he's a black Democrat. And sort
Like
of,
one.
Person of color. He's like I said, I'm a person of color.
you know, walking away, if you will. I don't know exactly if he said how he's going to vote or anything, but
Yeah.
I mean, just
Oh, he did. He was adamant in saying, "I'm
sure.
voting for Trump."
okay, fine. But I mean, I'm just curious to get all these other black celebrities and people like that. How does he deal or react to that?
Oh, he gets called everything. When he was leaving, you know, it actually is true. You know, the media is going nuts and saying, well, the president said they were thugs, a whole plane load of thugs dressed in black that were flown in. And Wolf Blitzer looks at the Attorney General and says, Barr, he says, have you talked to the FBI? He said, I don't need to talk to the FBI. We have the travel records. Yes, these
Professional agitators.
thugs have money. They have bricks delivered at strategic
you saw them pour
places.
them out for him.
They have the time to get from Portland to the RNC that was all set up, and they were staged, ready to attack. I talked to 4
Wasn't
different
that
people.
great?
Jason Thompson that was there from Georgia, Vernon Jones that was there, Madison Cawthorn, the young man in the wheelchair.
North Carolina.
I spoke to him the other day, and he told me that him and his wife, he's in a wheelchair, they were accosted on the way out. Vernon, they called him a house N. Yes.
And they called him everything
They
under
called
the
it, they
sun.
spit on him
Uncle
and
Tom.
everything.
Yeah.
You know,
just, I mean, all, you know, what does he say to, you know, LeBron James when he says all this stuff, or, you know.
I tell you what, in the interest of time, go on his Twitter feed. He addresses all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, Vernon does. He does clips on his Twitter feed and addresses LeBron and them. But I'll tell you what, I really like, there's 40 minutes long, what I liked in the interview, he said, Brian, you know why CNN won't call me to be on there? You know why MSNBC will not have me on there? And I said, why? He said, because I won't behave. He said, I won't behave. They tell you I'm not behaving according to
It would be like going to a Biden press conference
and he calls
you're told
it
what to say.
He calls it getting off the political mental plantation.
Oh boy.
That's
Do
what
you,
he calls
think he'll ever switch parties?
No, I
think it would be important.
I don't know. But Kyle Rittenhouse, the young man that is in jail at this current time from is it Kenosha?
Well, he's from Antioch,
Right.
Illinois, but yeah, two
What say
people
you
killed.
real quick on that?
That was one of my airballs, in the sense that Facebook has deemed him to be a mass murderer. So there was a GoFundMe thing going for his legal defense. Can't put it up because he's a mass murderer. And it seems like if you look at the video and you hear the cameraman on one of them said this guy in both cases was defending his life.
Shootout with marshals in Portland, and this piece of garbage, 100% Antifa is dead, that killed the young man.
What was it? The Patriot.
Prayer Patriot.
Prayer Patriot. Yeah.
What was his name? Do you know his name?
No, I don't.
Jay Danielson.
All right, what say? Yeah, Jay. Yeah, what say you on that?
Well, I mean,
he also, if you want to comment on Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, you know, I haven't really. It was all over the news this morning. I haven't really read the detail on it yet, so I don't really feel
You
like
mean the
I'm.
murder of the guy?
Well, it wasn't a murder. This guy was.
They're saying it's all planned. You mean the Trump supporter?
He was murdered.
He was murdered. That's not who you're talking about.
And the guy that killed him.
There was a shootout with marshals.
With police.
He was
He's
killed
dead.
last
Michael
night.
really?
Reinhold.
Yeah.
Michael Reinhold, who is on the record as 100% Antifa.
Getting back to Rittenhouse, you know, what people really need to do is they need to go read the rebuttal and they need to read the report filed by his attorney, the answer to his charges. I mean, it is amazing. That's when we had the discussion last week when you have the the stand down rule, or whether you can
Castle Doctrine.
The Castle Doctrine, whether you can defend, whether you can hold your place and defend yourself. And keep in mind, the one thing that I said was he's going to have trouble if he brought that gun from Illinois. He didn't.
Well, I thought
the gun never crossed the state line.
I thought
that gun, as it turns out, was a possession of a friend of his who lives in Kenosha. So he didn't bring guns across the state line as originally alleged.
Yeah, I heard that his mother drove the car across with the gun in the car, but
yeah, well,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, the attorney makes that case as well. So
okay.
we got to get out, but I want to. Anything on this you want to comment on, Jane?
Nope.
Okay. Bruce, air balls, which we touched on, but I'd like to hear some more air balls, jump shots, behind the back.
Well, the air balls we already did. Jacob Blake Sr., basically anti-Semite kind of nut job. Anderson Cooper was interviewing. He started talking about he didn't like asparagus, and Anderson Cooper was looking at him like, what? Yeah, and the guy just shut up after that. So for whatever. Homer, my home runs. Dave Sunderland, employee at Newport News Shipbuilding, got fired for wearing a MAGA cap to a safety meeting. Yeah. He said he's worn all different kinds of caps. He said there's all kinds of people wearing different caps for political this and that. He got singled out by a supervisor and got taken to the woodshed, and he said, I don't need this. I'm out of here.
You ready for me? Emily, would you put my winner up, please? Let me know when that picture's up. What you're looking at is posted by Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is a Long Island congressman. Welcome home, Harley, a U.S. vet's one-year-old companion dog. He met serving abroad, arrived at JFK from the Middle East, but faced euthanasia due to a clerical error. The Long Island congressman congressional delegation came together to help save Harley. Today, she's headed to her forever home. And there we go.
Oh boy.
Just in time. I planned that. That's like a flyover. Folks, we had the
4 flags.
We had
all the flags.
We just had a pickup truck come by. It had the Army flag, it had the Confederate stars and bars, it had the American flag.
Trump.
And the Trump flag.
It was a flyover.
It was like my flyover, okay? And my loser, and if you'll just play this in the background without the sound, this was posted by Children for Trump. What it is, it's a 2-minute, 55-second video of Nancy Antoinette atrocious, the condition of that district. There's 2-minute video, and it'll break your heart to see these people living in squalor while she's at home pulling out the freezer, showing her $1.50 per bite ice cream bars and running illegally to get her blowout. Sorry, almost.
Well, you're
call it
pushing at it anyway.
She did. She had to get her blowout in her.
Let's just call it a wash and cut and move on. The two of you.
And I think it was the best that Trump called the lady that owns Erica. How do you pronounce that? Kios. Erica Kios, that owns the salon, who's being berated, by the way, by the neighbors around there who support Pelosi. He asked her, will you do me a favor and would you run for a House seat out there?
Well, it's funny because it's going around social media that if Nancy Pelosi is saying the hair salon set her up, is this who we want running a part of our country?
Someone that stupid?
Yeah, someone. All right, winners and losers.
I'm with him.
I'm with this guy over here.
That's why I put that long video up, because I knew she was going with me.
I'm getting you the T-shirt for next week with the arrow. I'm with him. Okay. Folks, let me just say this. There's a couple things and so many different directions I can go, but the Democrats are they're trying to they're trying to flip the script, as one news network said, and they're running, you're hearing it a lot, and it's called Trump's America, okay? And they're calling it Trump's America. And what I think the President of the United States should start running commercials of Seattle or CHOP, Kenosha, Atlanta, and call them Biden's America. Democrat-run cities, Biden's America. So I think they need to pick up on something like that. But, you know, let's talk about hats. Now, when I do my show Monday through Thursday, I've got about 5-6 hats. And 4 of them, a good friend of mine, different, every time it comes up with a slogan, has a different hat made. And I've got about 4 hats from a friend of mine, Mobs, Jobs, not Mobs, Vote Trump, Trump 2020 Vision. And out there in Portland, the networks ran all week long. Trump supporter wearing far right hat, a hat from a far right organization.
Almost white supremacist.
Right.
Almost.
Good. Yeah. No, they did. A Trump supporter wearing a hat from a far right organization, much like white supremacy. That was the line all week long. Yeah. The thing they focused in is the hat the man wore. The hat. Really? Is that where we're at? Bruce talks about a guy that just wore his mega hat to work. He's worn hats all of his life to work. I guarantee you there's 100 guys there that day wearing the hat of their choice. Yep. Right? Favorite sports team, whatever. Can you get that? That's where we're at. And yes, these paid protesters, Black Lives Matter, these domestic terrorists, this Antifa group, they're funded by the dark shadows, as the President of the United States calls them, the dark shadows. It is true. They're funded. Where are they getting food? Where are they getting money? Where are they getting lodging? Where are they getting hotel rooms to refresh and shower and get a brick to throw at somebody? Just saying. Just saying. Right? North Georgia Senior Living with Jesse Barton, the Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall, right after these brief messages.
All right, folks, that was the All-Star Political Panel with Rick, Jane, Bruce, and myself. We do that every Friday at Sycamore Crossing. Just good friends got together several years ago, and said, hey, let's do a segment on Friday outdoors, talk politics. And like I said, we don't play it down the line. Now, I'm your host, BKP, and if you're new to the show, let me tell you a little bit. I study politics 7 days a week. Yes, I know Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest. I get that. I'm with you on that. But I watch all the morning shows on Sunday. I do. I bring myself to watch, I call him the commie Chris Wallace on Fox, right? I watch Fox with Chris Wallace. And I watch Chuck Todd. Oh, that is tough. It's tough to get out. Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. And I watch the Margaret Brennan. What a little commie. Oh my God. Brennan, wow. Face the Nation. She's not tenacious. She is really ugly to her guest. I mean, she really is. She's on and on and on. I watch her, and then who else do I watch? I call him Snuffleupagus. Now, if you have kids, grandkids, Sesame Street, you have the old Mr. Snuffleupagus. Well, George Stephanopoulos, I've just always called him George Snuffleupagus. And, and if he can't make it in, they definitely have a lefty. They always have a lefty on standby, and their lefty is Martha Raddatz, right? So I watch those shows on Sunday because I want to see what direction, and that's where the left, complicit in the heist of 2020 media, that's where they lay out the groundwork for their narrative of the week. Now, the thing they can't stand is they try to set the direction they want to go in on Sundays with all these shows. I don't watch Jake Tapper at CNN or any CNN. There are some things I won't do on Sunday, and that's CNN. But anyhow, they want to drop their weekly narrative on Sunday and run with it. But the President of the United States will not allow the media, to have 24 hours to themselves without spinning their heads off, which I love. And then Monday through Friday, I get up 4 a.m., as here you go, 4 a.m., and I start watching CNN and MSNBC. How can I do that? Don't try that at home, folks. You don't want to try that at home watching CNN and MSNBC that early in the morning. But I do it for this show and our viewers and the voters because I am determined to, I study the media. I study politics in the media. I study the words. I catch what they're saying. I know the direction they're going in. And they drop the news cycle. Read Operation Mockingbird. Just look that up. Google Operation Mockingbird. Take a minute and look at that. So what I do is I get up. They drop the news cycle at 4 and 5 to try to push what the narrative they want of the day. And so when I come on by 8 o'clock, I know what they're trying to do. I know what they're trying to lie about and scheme and be complicit in the heist, great election heist of 2020. So that's why I do that. Okay, and another thing is I just want to say is, maybe I shouldn't say, what the hell? Every once in a while I'll say something. I'll say, why am I the bad guy? Why am I the bad guy? I'm just saying what people are out there thinking, and we're tired of it. So you can hear that on Tuesdays. But every morning when they hit the ground running, and I hit the ground running at 8 a.m., we are ready for them right here. Now, what I want to introduce you now on our Friday shows is I want to introduce you. Oh, don't forget, Congressman Doug Collins will be here tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. He will be our guest. You know, where is Senator Kelly Loeffler? I am writing a story. Get ready, maybe middle of the week. I'm very busy, but I'm writing a story called Kelly Loeffler, the Great Campaign Stunt. It's a stunt. Everything about her campaign is a stunt. Just a campaign stunt put together, narrated, scripted, and she is playing a part in someone else's screenplay. That's what it is. Folks, now I want you to enjoy one of our lighter segments. She is a great lady. She has a heart, has a passion for seniors. No matter where you're at in this country, no matter where you're at in North Georgia, Western North Carolina, no matter where, you could always call Jessie Barton, the Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall here in Ellijay, Georgia, and ask her any questions about maybe moving into assisted living, senior living. She's a specialist. We call her our senior living concierge, okay? So now I want you to meet North Georgia Senior Living, Jessie Barton. So when we get back right after this, don't go away, because we round out Fridays with our Pet of the Week. So we'll be back in just a minute. Here's Jessie Barton, Community Relations Director, Cameron Hall. Hey folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. It's now time for North Georgia Senior Living with Jessie Barton, the Community Relations Director, Cameron Hall.
Yeah.
Ellijay.
Yeah.
Now, I was thinking about how I want to get this started out, Jessie. Earlier today, and you can always find all these segments on FYNTV.com, and they're identified there. This, we talk about senior living, and Cameron Hall, and our first segment on Fridays is an Ask the Doc.
Gotcha.
And here recently, in the past several months, there's a lot of information in that first segment of Ask the Doc that actually goes along with senior living, because the most vulnerable group, you work with the most vulnerable group.
Are you worried about taxes eating into your retirement account?
COVID-19.
Sure.
That is what you do for a living every single day. And the Cameron Hall, you deal with the most vulnerable group. Dr. Whaley this morning and Dr. Raymond Tidman, they gave us some very good news concerning COVID, and they talked about the rate, the death rate within the age groups. And it seems like we have, and I'm going to get where I'm going here in a minute, we have progressed to finally get to where you've understood this all along, your organization, but treat our seniors like fine china. And I want to double back on that because of the information. If you watch that segment and watch this, you guys have followed that basic treat our seniors like fine china. Where's that gotten Cameron Hall visitors today? Can you update us on how that's going in the nursing home, assisted living, assisted care in this country?
Sure. So it's interesting that they say treat seniors like fine china. I was talking to one of my residents this week. She was outside and getting her fresh air and her sunshine, and she was saying she had that her grandson had met his fiance's extended family, that they are from Japan. And she said, Jessie, she said, in Japan, she said, seniors are the top of the hierarchy. They are the most respected. They are the most looked to. They are considered the wisest. And it really made me start thinking about, are we truly honoring that in our country today, or do we just see the senior where they're at and forget their life experiences? So that kind of goes hand in hand. And so when you said that about the fine china, it made me think about her saying that about in Japan. They're so revered, rather than just tossed away or set to the side like we sometimes feel like they are here in our country. But in regards to, I know that several of them have they feel tossed away right now because we're not getting to have the visitors like we were before COVID. So I would say, so I can speak more for Cameron Hall, just our kind of what we see happening. So our company is strongly following Governor Kemp's very first executive order that affected long-term care, meaning assisted livings, nursing homes, hospice, inpatient facilities. And so in that executive order, he comes across and says, no communal dining, so no coming to a common dining room. You have to do in-room feeding, take the food to them in room trays. He talks about no internal activities, no group activities. So we've limited those group activities, and it's more individual within their apartment. Encourage them to go for a walk, with a caregiver. So most of our long-term care facilities are following that executive order and so every time he extends the state of emergency, that's extending out how long we're following that, because it usually extends that particular executive order too. So we're in a place that we are not. There's a yellow jacket wanting to find me.
Yes, he has been waiting for somebody for a while. So, okay, getting past the yellow jacket.
If I get stung, I'm going to scream. So we're in a spot that we're following what we're supposed to be doing, but we're limiting our visitors as well for Cameron Hall. So essential visits only, home health care, hospice care. If, unfortunately, with the industry we're in, we sometimes have people that are passing. So we can let the family in if a person is actively passing. So it's definitely having an impact. It's keeping our residents safe, but yet it's also, it really likes me. Maybe if I just be still.
Okay, so we're not going to focus in on a yellow jacket.
I'm just trying not to get stung here.
Like me, squirrel.
Yes.
Let me back up on what you said, and what we're doing is backing up a little bit. This is North Georgia Senior Living with Jesse Barton, the Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall. Cameron Hall, what some people may not know, they may say, you're not allowing this. You're not allowing that. But what we need to clear up is these are continuing emergency orders that are being signed by the governor of the state, whichever state you're in, whatever senior care during COVID-19, your governor, wherever you're at, because we have people that watch in other states, wherever you're at, is addressed in the state of emergency.
It is.
So when you go to like a Cameron Hall and you say you're doing this and no, we're following a state of emergency that is still in place. And he just extended that this week, correct?
He did. So as of August 31st, there is an executive order 831-01, I think is what the executive order is. It extends the state of emergency for Georgia until October 10th. He can only extend that for 30 days at a time. If you read the verbiage, like you have to dig down into this executive order, because then there's executive orders that he references from March and April that say this also extends this executive order named. And so those are back from, I believe it's towards the end of March, where he addresses specifically long-term care. It's 4 or 3:30. Go back to those dates if you pull up the website from the governor's office. So that's where we're kind of in that catch-22, because we're seen as the bad guys, not letting, families
and
come
that's
in.
It's not the case, and you guys are trying to take everything and saying, okay, how can we make the best out of this?
Absolutely.
And you've done a lot of things. I've got a strong question for you, and it is strong, but it's something we can't walk around, and we talked to our doctors this morning, and it's something. How are you guys dealing with depression, and is that a big concern right now among our seniors and all?
Sure. And unfortunately, it is a very strong question.
But it is. I mean,
we have to address it as an industry, and I think across the country we're seeing this. So not just Cameron Hall. I've talked to other people in the industry. We're seeing a higher rate of people going into, maybe they were in independent living, and the isolation has caused them to have to go into assisted living. We're seeing some that are having to go to memory care because maybe they've got a condition that they were already a little predisposed to that memory loss. And so we have seen, I've talked to lots of people who have memory care communities, and they said we're seeing people transition from one side to the next. Now, that's not to say don't move to senior living.
No, that's not what we're saying. Because when I say this among seniors, because you and I talk about this is North Georgia senior living, there's seniors that live independently still in their home, but they're not getting visitors, and they can't go out. They're told, you're 70, you can't, I don't care if you live at home, you can't go to a restaurant, you don't need to be, all right, and things like that. So no, the kids can't come by. One has the flu, or one has a cold, or a classmate tested positive.
Right.
So it doesn't matter where you're at right now when it comes to seniors. They're dealing with things because of the age group. Now, there's a lot of positive things where seniors are concerned as far as research and surviving. The survival rate has gone up dramatically with care in our senior community, but it's still the most vulnerable. So that's not an isolated thing to Cameron Hall, by no means.
And it's interesting that you bring up the people at home, because
Are you worried about the next market crash causing your retirement accounts to plunge?
When this all started back in March, people were still inquiring. People still needed care. They needed assistance. They wanted socialization. And so they're like, I'm going to wait till the end of summer, see what happens with COVID, and then I'll make a decision for mom and dad. So what we're seeing now is they're calling back, and they're like, mom's been at home by herself since March. We take and drop groceries off. We visit through the window, and that's even at home. But we're seeing mom's declined a lot more than we anticipated, being at home alone. So, as far as us particularly, we are encouraging people to get out and take a walk, have fresh air. We've got rocking chairs out front. Go sit and get some fresh air. If they're 6 feet apart, we can't stop if two people walk out at the same time. We can't stop them from sitting in chairs that are 6 feet apart. We are doing individual activities. We're walking with people one-on-one. We're going to their apartment and saying, hey, come on, it's been a few days since you've been outside. Let's go get some fresh air, and walking them through the garden with them. So we're also doing outside sunshine visits. So a setting similar to this for families to make an appointment and come see their loved one. And that has made such a difference in the outlook of our folks. Our beauty salon is back open.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, we got to have our hair did, so.
Right, exactly. So, and you have somebody comes in and schedules that, and that's open. And then you have a great outdoor area. I know your location, and you have a great outdoor area where there could be a proper amount of space, and it's sunshine, and professionals tell us that's okay, to where they can visit and things like that. So that is great. Now, you're still doing move-ins.
We are.
We're doing move-ins. Want to make sure that everybody out there knows. And I'll use the word counsel. You can counsel through the entire transition.
Sure.
The entire transition from the children that are talking to their parents about this, the parents that have questions, and transitioning into Cameron Hall. You can counsel all the way through that and handle basically whatever needs they have or answer their questions, correct?
Right, and that's a topic for next week. I had an interaction this week where I almost feel like I should have been a counselor sitting there with the gentleman, so it was very eye-opening to see it from the person who's moving in's perspective. So that'll be next week's topic, about kind of the things I learned from this conversation from this gentleman. So,
well, let me just say this. When I use the word transition, if you just stop and think, there's transition in our life on a daily basis. And when you say, well, I'm not transitioning daily, you are a fraction at a time.
Sure.
Transitioning into something, regardless of what it is. Whether it's a new job or a new, whatever it may be, there's a transition, and every day is a step further to that next transition in your life, whether you know it or not. It happens with or without us.
It does. Change is the only constant.
So, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. Call me at 706-515-4100.
North Georgia Senior Living with Jessie Barton, the Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall. I call her the North Georgia Seniors Concierge. Get in touch with her today, regardless of whatever it may be. If it surrounds senior living, she'll be glad to help you any way she can. We'll be back Monday. No. Well, wait a minute.
Monday's a holiday.
Monday's a holiday. Follow me on social media. I might have something up my sleeve, although they're short, that we're doing Monday.
It's the yellow jacket up your sleeve.
Is it really?
No.
Let's just go for now. Enjoy your holiday weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right, folks, we're back, and I'm your host, BKP. We're North Georgia's only live online morning show. That's a great segment with Jessie Barton, the Community Relations Director at Cameron Hall. Now, what we are doing this morning on the show is we're just introducing you to what we do on Fridays. Now, Monday through Thursday, from 8 to 10, we are right here in the studio, and it gets a little, I can be offensive. I just have to admit it. I could say some things I'll never regret. Did you catch that? I guess since Frank Sinatra said, regrets I have a few, is that what he said? I guess I can do that too. I have 6 Trump hats here on the desk. We always keep our Constitution available. Always do that. We had a great time this past Saturday at the 9th District GOP election campaign kickoff for all the candidates and the great speakers that were up. Is it Ginger Howard and Jason Thompson? Ginger is the Georgia State National Committee woman, and Jason is the Georgia State National Committee man. Always enjoyed getting together with Jason. I tell you, he tells some great stories about the convention and being in Washington, D.C. During the Republican convention there. But anyhow, so tomorrow morning, my guest will be Congressman Doug Collins. Okay, Congressman Doug Collins will be here on the show at 8:30. The campaign stunt, the great campaign stunt. It may turn into a book. Kelly Loeffler is playing a part in a screenplay that has been written since the time when Johnny Isakson, the former senator, ran for re-election. I didn't think he would run for re-election. I mean, just thinking out loud, is Johnny going to run? Johnny is ill, okay? Now, Johnny Isakson is, the best I could say, can be somewhat moderate. He was somewhat a moderate senator. But Johnny Isakson's likability was through the roof. I mean, you didn't meet Johnny, you didn't like him. But you can't call Johnny Isakson, the former senator of Georgia, a conservative. You can't do it. So why would Johnny Isakson retire in just a third of his term up as a moderate senator, knowing, if he did know, which I think he did, knowing his seat would go to what TV is trying to portray, a conservative Kelly Loeffler. Kelly Loeffler is not a conservative. She's playing one in the screenplay. That's it, in the screenplay. But anyhow, I'm going to do a full segment on that tomorrow on the show, and then I'm going to be writing a story on that. People say, well, are you supporting Doug Collins? No. I'm going to have him on the show tomorrow. There's 21 candidates. 21 candidates in this race. I just know Loeffler is playing a part in somebody else's power grab. But we'll get into that more. I don't want to get sidetracked here. Now, folks, we're going to round out, and when we're done with Pet of the Week, you come back. I'm going to have a closer to set up our show for Tuesday. Maybe I just did, okay? But right now, what I want you to do is enjoy the lighter side of things here on Friday. We always close with the star of the show, our Pet of the Week of the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. So check this out. I'll be right back to close our show this morning.
Hey folks, we're back, and this is the Pet of the Week with the Humane Society of Blue Ridge, and this is Bear, who is, tell us a little bit about Bear. Bear, look out there, we're trying to find you a house.
We figure Bear to be right about 7 to 8 weeks old now. We've had him about 3 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. You know, everything's a guess. We picked him up from another county. He was found in a garbage can.
Oh, don't tell these stories on my segment here.
I'm sorry, but if you have an animal and you can't take care of them, go to your local Humane Society or animal control. Don't just dump them like that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we'll get off that subject. And we went and got him. So he's at the Humane Society of Blue Ridge.
Are you pup trash?
He's a wonderful, wonderful little dog. We think he's going to be small to medium. We think he might have pug in him based on his curly tail and his... Let
me see if I can hold him.
Oh yeah, you can hold him.
You're the fit boy.
He's extremely tired right now, so he'll start crying. But he's, come here, show me a pretty face.
Look out there.
There, show me a pretty face. Show me a pretty face. There you go.
Wave your paws in the air.
Yes, there you go.
Hold your toy. Hold your little toy, Mittens.
But anyway, he, of course, you know, he's an intake, and he's had his first shot, and he'll be available in a little while. But if you're interested in Little Bear or Bear, I call him Little Bear because I have a bear across the street, and my dogs get confused.
Some water?
Want some water? There you go. No? Okay.
So how old do you think Bear is?
We think he's between like 7 or 8 weeks. He's very young. He's very playful. He's getting to the point where he doesn't sleep as much. He doesn't really like the sun, so I'm very grateful the sun's gone away for a little bit. When I take him outside, he heads straight for the shady area, and then he'll play. He's really funny, so he'll love the winter. But he's a really good dog, really good puppy. Of course, he is a puppy. There's a lot of training involved with a puppy. There's a big truck coming. He's a little scared of loud noises. And when the motorcycle or my dogs start barking, he'll run and hide.
So is Happy still there from last week? Or did...
All 7 have been adopted.
All 7?
All 7 of the puppies have been adopted. I think Happy might still be waiting to be picked up, but they have all. Yeah, he'll bite your ear.
You just chewed my ear. Come here. My ear's not a chew toy.
Turn around and show me your pretty face. Can you sit? There we go. Yes, there we go.
Folks, we are trying to find Bear's forever home because I can't have a bear at my house.
He has a thick coat. Yes, I know.
Did you hear I have a cat?
Yes, I did. I heard you had a cat. And I'll tell you what, Bear likes cats.
So you know, this week I got a cat, Mittens.
Oh, here comes the sun.
Mittens is on the front porch.
I know.
So the next thing I know, Mittens is laying right here, and then Mittens is over there, and Mittens keeps rubbing up on my leg, purring. And I asked somebody, I asked my wife, I said, what's that mean? And they said that means he likes you. She likes you.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, Mittens jumped right here. And I've never is a long time, never had a cat right here.
Really?
Next thing I knew, Mittens was, I'm like, oh.
See, he likes you. They always go to the people they know really don't like cats.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah. You can be in a whole house and there's one person that doesn't care for cats, and that cat always goes there. Yes, it seems to always happen. One person in the room and the cat finds the one that doesn't like cats.
Well, I have a cat now. let's find this guy, Bear's Forever Home. He's at the Humane Society of Blue Ridge.org, and they are open, but you need to make an appointment. You have to call, make an appointment, and you can come and see all of the dogs and cats they have available. Appointment, call there. Their phone number's on the website. And if you want to adopt and you have pets, they want you to do a meet and greet. So
yes.
Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Call 706-632-4357. Go to our website, humanesocietyofblueridge.org, and all of them are posted there. Follow us on Facebook. We always post the dogs on Facebook and show them at the shelter and interact with them. And I said call us. Yeah, yes. That's so. I think I got everything, didn't I? Oh, we're at 171 Mineral Springs Road, but give us a call if you want to come out. We are following the regular protocols.
Humane Society of Blue Ridge.org. Let's help Bear and all their cats and dogs out there find forever homes today. I'm your host, BKP. We're at Sycamore Crossing in downtown Blue Ridge. That is our show. We will be back Monday morning at 8 a.m. FYNTV.com. Hey, Bear, I think you're going to find a home. I just feel it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're out. See you Monday. How'd you like that, folks? Isn't that a great way to end the week with a Pet of the Week from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge, Georgia? Humane Society of Blue Ridge, Georgia. What a way to end the week. And after all of the news and the rioting and the killing and mayhem and chaos and, you know, and the deep state corporate corrupt media and that's complicit in the great 2020 election heist, the election heist of 2020, after all the crazy stuff that happens throughout the week, perfect way, absolutely perfect way to end our week, every week on Friday. So I gave you a little highlight of what we do on Friday. This is a little highlight of what we do Monday through Thursday here on the show. You know, we have 57 days. 57 days until Election Day. Actually, Election Day is happening days, plural. You know, our founding fathers, what would they have thought if they would have thought Election Day would have turned into what? Mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, ballot stealing, corrupt elections. What would they think to know that we have election days? So there's actually 57 days until November 3rd. Maybe that's the only thing we can say anymore. 57 days until November 3rd, which is election day, right? But early voting has already started as far as mail-in. How about Facebook? Are you telling me you don't think the Democrats have a master plan to steal this election? Look at Facebook. How many of you go to Facebook and immediately you're asked by Facebook, get your mail-in ballot now. By name, it has your name. Hey, John, click here to get your mail-in ballot now. Right? They're all complicit in the great election heist of 2020. Facebook, Twitter, all of them. They're all working together. The hashtag deep state corporate corrupt media, they're all working together. The DNC, Stacey Abrams, Eric Holder, Barack Obama, they're all working together over time. The newspaper, as Trump would call them, the failing New York Times, the Washington Post, the list goes on. Look at the article that just came out from the Atlantic, and we know the Atlantic is owned by a Biden super donor. It's non-stop what they're doing to try to take this president down and you and I with him. If you think it's not bad, if you think it's bad now, okay, as soon as they have control, and I mean they have control, what if they, okay, the deep state, what if they get the
the White House, right? The Senate and the House of Representatives. You and I are in deep SHI asterisk. Let me just say that. We're in it deep. We got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. Anyhow, we have 57 days to election. We're going to talk about it every single day. I want to ask you to chill out. Stop with the poll, the daily poll derangement syndrome. Don't worry about these polls. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a good poll out there. There's possibly some good polling data, but these people buy polls in the direction they want you to believe things are leaning. So I call it the polling derangement syndrome. Quit getting hung up in daily polls. And don't forget, the gatekeepers of hell. That would be Joe Scarborough and Minka Brzezinski. So as I always say on my show, if you take your last breath in this world, and the next thing you know, you meet Minka and Joe, you've done something bad wrong. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. We're North Georgia's only live online morning show. Return with us Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., right back in our studio, and Congressman Doug Collins will be our guest, 8:30 tomorrow. So enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Get the camper cleaned up, put away. Get the camper cleaned up, put away. Get the boat out of the lake. Wash everything up. Wash the kids up. Get back to school or the living room where the computer is. God almighty. But I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Your host, BKP. I enjoyed meeting you this past weekend up at the Dillard House. If you're new to the show, don't forget our election night coverage. That is from 8 to midnight on FYNTV.com. Bada bing, bada boom. Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. I will see you then.